So, now I'd like to look at the purpose and the possibilities of social media. Basically, there's been a change in the way social media are used since most of these companies were first set up. There's been a move from small local use, like university students in the case of Facebook, to the global mass market use that we see today. Secondly, social media like Facebook and Twitter allow businesses and individuals to network with each other and make useful contacts, so they have a professional role as well as a social role. Businesses can advertise themselves and their ideas, or exchange information with anyone in the world. And obviously, they make it possible for individuals to keep in contact socially with friends, family, former classmates and colleagues, and also to make new friends, of course. Next, what's interesting is that social media can often bypass the traditional media, newspapers, TV, radio. Social media are much faster, much more direct. In the past, if you wanted to say something, if you wanted to reach an audience or publicise an idea, you had to use the old media, the newspapers or TV. Now, you can just do it yourself. You just tweet your message and everyone who follows you will pick it up, or put it on your Facebook wall. And related to this, there have been some unexpected outcomes of using social media. Nobody thought in the early days how important they would be for social and political movements. I mean, think about the role social media have played in recent world events. That kind of activity would not have been possible a few years ago, and that's really exciting. Okay, let's look at social media in action. What are the advantages and what are the limitations? So, first of all, most social media have low barriers of entry. They're easy to access, easy to use, and almost everyone can get their message out there. And then there's equality. Social media are democratic. You don't have to be famous or rich or well connected to use them. Everyone has the same access. Everyone can have an equal say. Also, there are no direct costs. Social media are free to use, and obviously this is attractive to businesses as well as individuals. Okay, I'm kind of contradicting myself here. In theory, everybody can access social media, but in reality they can't. People who are very poor or don't have internet or mobile access, they're excluded, just as they're excluded from many other areas of modern life. I said earlier that social media bypass other traditional media. They can also bypass governments and government regulations. They have a global reach, and most governments find that they're almost impossible to regulate. However, just because you're operating digitally in the virtual world, that doesn't mean you're above the law. There are cases where users have got into trouble through tweeting. Some users have even been convicted of crimes, like the recent case where a student was sent to prison for writing racist tweets about a public figure. On the other hand, there is safety in numbers. If one person is doing something, it might be considered to be wrong. But if 1 million people are doing it, what can anyone do about it? Even the government. So for example, if thousands of users are sharing some restricted information, how do you stop them? You can't prosecute them all. So this is another example of the power of social media. There are other limitations, of course. There are some things you just can't do with social media. You still need real people and real places to meet up and do real things, obviously. If you ask a 13-year-old what they want from social media, they'll probably say they want to socialise, to chat with their friends. Great, but what happens to real-life chatting? How does that help children develop socially? And is someone you only know online really a friend? Isn't it a bit sad that people, not just kids, prefer to communicate by text or tweet rather than face-to-face? So finally, I think we have to ask, what is the point of social media? How useful are they really? And how reliable? Are the advantages bigger than the disadvantages? Okay, so I'd like to leave you with a few questions to think about.